Here's a very busy Wednesday in the kitchen while the kids are at school. First off, we took out chicken legs and defrosted them, and now I'm divvying them up into the Instant Pot. I'm going to put 1.5 in this one and 1.5 in the other one. While Michael's mom is loading the dishwasher. We just got back from Goodwill and we found some really good deals on some plates and some other kitchen utensils. So she's peeling off stickers and sticking them in the dishwasher. While I am divvying up chicken in the Instant Pot, and we are going to make a month's worth of dog food for my little boy Cash. He's a little white Bichon. And somewhere in the video, if you watch the floor, you'll probably see him walk around. Or in other videos, you've probably seen him walk around. He is so good. He loves to play with our chickens and watch our chickens. And our chickens don't mind him. It's crazy. We have a livestock guardian dog, except in the size of a little 12-pound dog. It's really cute. Grandma's carrying around the chicken eggs. We keep the shells from our chickens when we use the eggs, and then we give them back to the chickens. We wait until they're dry and then crush them up, and then we put them in their calcium bucket. And it gives them extra calcium, and nothing goes to waste. It's awesome. And I just went to the freezer, and I grabbed out my scraps. So I have my celery bag of scraps. I'm going to put in some celery pieces. I have my onion scraps and my garlic scraps. And you just kind of throw them in there until it looks right. There's no real science behind it. Measuring by feel. It's always great. And I still have my beets on the counter that Grandma's moving. In a few hours, we will wash them and put them on the shelves. They're just sitting and resting still. And Grandma is washing the celery. Always wash your celery. It's a hilarious saying that I heard, and every time I see celery, it always comes to mind. Wash your celery. They're like your parents. Dirtier than you think. It's hilarious. It's just, I see celery and I just chuckle. But on this Wednesday, we got celery for a really good deal. I think it was 89 cents for a stalk. So we got 7 of them. So we're going to chop up all the celery, and Grandma's going to put it on the freeze drying trays. And then we will bring it downstairs to the Harvest Right freeze dryer and freeze dry it. We got 4 half-gallon containers of it on our shelves, all ready for soups and stews and whatever else we can sneak some celery into sometimes. Ooh, if you'd like, you can look down below in the description. We do have a code for the Harvest Right freeze dryer. It is an amazing tool. I can't tell you how often we use it. It almost never turns off, and it is so easy. I've also done a video on how easy it is. People are like, oh no, it's going to be so complicated. and confusing. Really, it's like put it in, close the door, close the valve, press 2-3 buttons, and it does it. And that's it. Now I'm going to fill up the container for the Instant Pot with water. As you can see, I have all my scraps in there. They're really fluffy, don't worry. They will go down below the fill line. And then I will bring it over to the Instant Pot, which is actually set up behind the camera. So you can't see the Instant Pot, but don't worry. I think everybody knows what it is. Just plop it on, seal the lid, put it to sealing, not venting, and I cook it for an hour. And I will show you how to take off all the meat and prepare it further on in the video. While Grandma is still getting all ready for these 7 stalks of celery that she gets to cut and put on the trays. It all didn't make it in the first batch. It made it in 2 batches. So as you'll see, we cut it up and then we put it in a baggie for the next day. Here I am taking some chicken broth that I already had in the refrigerator. I'm going to scoop off the fat that is on top, put it in a second bowl. Yep, Grandma found more plates. She found the bag that she lost. And now she's putting them all back in the dishwasher. She knew that she misplaced a bag, and she didn't know where it was. She found it. But I am going to get this chicken broth on the stove, warming up, so we can add the new chicken broth that's going to come in with the dog food. And then we will can that chicken broth. Can't let anything go to waste. I made chicken earlier in the week. For us, that's where this chicken broth came in. And then I'm going to use the chicken broth from the dog food. Can up the chicken broth so we have chicken broth on our shelves for soups, or just when it's cold outside and you need that extra little warmth and goodness. Grandma's going to take that fat and put it down the sink. In goes the bowl, into the pot. Look how jelly and cajolant that is. That's going to make some good stock. Here I am ladling up the first set of chicken broth. This chicken broth is so easy to make, and it's all done with scraps. If you haven't made your own chicken broth, you should seriously think about starting to make your own chicken broth, because this container costs me nothing. And then the containers in the store, I think last time I looked at the prices, it was like $3 for one of these chicken broths. When it's made with the onion scraps and skins that you're going to throw away, the garlic skins you're going to throw away, the butts of the celery that you're just going to throw away, and carrot skins that you're just going to throw away. So instead, just put them in a baggie and keep them in your freezer. And then if you don't want to put your chicken in your Instant Pot and you want to put it in your oven, you can roast it in your oven, you can put it on the stove. However And then you just keep all those bones and you add some vinegar to it and you got yourself some really good chicken stock that you can put on your shelves that has a lot less sodium and everything else that they're putting in stuff today. And this has so much more flavor because you get to flavor it however you want. And the flavor's already in it. So now you don't have to put it on the stove and go here and there and pull all your different spices to get whatever flavor that the store-bought chicken broth doesn't have anymore. And as long as you have a pressure canner, this can sit on your shelf for as long as you need it to. We've made a lot of dog food recently. I've stocked up the freezer. So I have a lot of cans, a lot of jars, ready and waiting for me on the shelves. I do have to get to my beef bones. Does anybody else stock up bones in their freezer? The bottom part of my upstairs freezer is filled with different bones. Don't want to waste them because they have good bone marrow and everything in them. So I just put them in the freezer, and when I have a sec, I will make up a pot of that broth. There we go. Grandma already has 3 trays, it looks like, of celery filled up and chopped. We're also keeping the leaves of the celery so I can turn around and make celery salt for our pantry spices. Use celery salt in a lot of things. So we make our own. Take the leaves, put them in the freeze dryer, and they go through that. Take them, crush them up small. Especially the kids love to do that. You put it in a baggie and the kids just love to scrunch and smush it until it's your powder. Add a bit of your Redmond real salt and just shake your jar. Celery salt. How easy was that? I'm putting the lids on these and I will put them in the canner while I finish waiting for the chicken broth from the dog food. And I will fill up the rest of the jars and then start the canner. We have got to try to fit in as much as we can on days that we have off, that the kids are in school. I like involving the kids. It's fun. They learn a lot. But sometimes you just gotta move a little faster. So on Wednesday, we put the pedal to the metal and we run to our thrift stores and we get our little treasures that we found there. We come home and it is preserve what we can. Every Wednesday is different. Sometimes there's just when carrots go on sale and we stock up on carrots, sometimes the carrots are starting to get a little dark on the outside before they start to turn squishy. So you want to get those into the freeze dryer. So we'll chop those up. I did not do that on this day, but it's just the thing. We had some peppers one day and we had to cut those up and put those in the freeze dryer. There was a huge onion sale and we chopped up onions and we had them in the freeze dryer and the dehydrator. The house smelled great. I love the smell of onions. Here I am, just waiting for probably the last few minutes of the pressure cooker Instant Pot to finish, so I'm helping Grandma chop up some celery. She already filled up all the trays and put them downstairs, so we're filling up this baggie for the next set, which will run on the second day. Again, I love this freeze dryer. It is amazing on how much you can preserve and keep on your shelves. We grow celery in the summer, but I did not get enough celery to last us through the winter. So we kind of supplemented with some green peppers because I had more than enough green peppers in soups and stews. But when I saw this sale for 89 cents, I was like, I'm going to buy quite a bit. And instead of chopping them up and putting them in 1 cup increments in baggies and laying them flat and putting them in the freezer, the freeze dryer freeze dries them so I can keep them on my shelf. So now it opens up space in my freezer. It's amazing. I've done so many things in this freeze dryer, and every time I turn around, there's something else that needs to go into it, and 2, how easy it is to use. And the new tips and tricks that I'm learning. I mean, somebody said, freeze dry Skittles. I'm like, maybe if I have an open tray, I will try that. All right, the dog food came out. The Instant Pots came to pressure and beeped for me. I usually have a holder for this, so the strainer will probably drop once or twice into the bucket. But I'm going to strain off that hot chicken broth that we just made. We are going to can that in the rest of the jars that are waiting here. We will peel that meat off and separate out the meat. But then I'm going to take those bones and I'm going to smush them with an old potato masher, one of those metal ones. And I will put it outside on the deck table and let that cool. And the next day, I can either A, feed it to chickens, or B, spread it out in the garden for some lovely bone meal. Or because I did 2 batches, I might split it between both. But from all this chicken, none of it went to waste. None of it went in the garbage can. None of it went into a landfill. Which that is the best way that you could possibly make food, is always use up everything. And when you have a whole chicken or just chicken legs, that is the best way. Now I'm going to fill up this jar with this one, and we will start to peel off the chicken. We also have frozen spinach, kale, and mustard greens in 1/2 cup increments in our freezer that I also like to add into the dog food. So what we do is in the summertime, when your spinach is popping out a lot, and so is your kale and your mustard greens, we'll take those and then we'll blanch them, and I'll take a half a cup and I'll smush it all in there until you can't smush no more. And I'll take a cookie sheet and I'll turn it upside down on a cookie sheet. I will fill up that cookie sheet and put it in the freezer, and I'll let it sit in there for about 2 days until it's nice, good, and frozen. And then I'll take it out and put it into separate baggies into the upstairs freezer. If you put it in the fridge, it won't last very long. But if you put it in the freezer, it will last. And then I'll take these little pucks and I will stick them in the dog food. I also use it in chicken soup for the in the chicken soup. I'll put some spinach in there. And that is a good way that you can put in greens into your soups, and your kids don't mind them. Also, it's a great way to get your dog to eat their fruits and vegetables. There's always nice tricks and tips that you can figure out along the way to sneak things in that nobody knows the difference. Right, here I am adding vinegar. I took both Instant Pots and I combined the bones and the scraps. There, I tried to show you. I need to go a little higher on the camera next time. And then I will set that one more time to go in the Instant Pot, and it will turn those bones pretty much to mush. As soon as you take that potato masher, it will mash them all up into nothing. And you can put them in your garden and also feed it back to your chickens. There you go. I'm going to take some rice. Right, I think that was rice. I'm going to add the chicken broth from some of the chicken broth into the rice. I will fill the rest up with water, and I will get that on the stove going for the dog food. And the beets on the counter, they turned out amazing. They were great. All of them sealed. And also we opened one and ate it. On the previous Azure Standard haul, we got a lot of beets. And we canned up a lot of beets. If I would open a jar of beets every day for dinner, my kids would finish a jar of beets. And here's my little pucks. And I just threw 2 in there. There we go. Trying to close it with 1 foot up. There we go. And that will just melt in with the rice. And the dog will eat his greens. And today was Valentine's Day. And the kids went to Menards with me and they picked this out. On Living Traditions Homestead, they used this in Wattlesville to cut some metal. And my husband was trying to use these tin snips. And it was going ting, ting, ting. I got so annoyed by it. So next time when he has anything metal, he can hook this up to his drill and just drill it. And then he surprised all of us and got us flowers. It was a great Valentine's Day. But if you haven't checked out Living Traditions Homestead, you should. She has some great cooking recipes, and they show you all the different ways to make things. And this is what the dog food looks like stacked up. And here is all that celery freeze-dried. And it's going on our shelves. Look at that. We got freeze-dried strawberries and peppers and our onions, white onions and red onions. We got some ginger. This is all of our chicken broth that came out. You see the color differentiation? One was made with red onions and one was made with white onions. I have 5 rows of chicken broth and we are starting on the bottom. We still have a lot of tomato sauce that we canned up from summer. And above, if you can see all those beets that we canned as well. There was our busy Wednesday.